There are moments in life that don't look dramatic. They don't come with tears, breakdowns, or loud collapse. Sometimes they look like nothing, just a quiet stillness inside you. A silence that sits in the back of your chest, where your emotions used to live. You wake up one morning and the world hasn't changed, but it feels like someone turned down its brightness. Not dark, not tragic, just dim. Your coffee tastes exactly the same. Your favorite songs don't land the way they used to. You laugh at the right moments, but it feels like watching your own life through a window. And because everything looks normal, you tell yourself you're fine. You're functioning. You're working. You're smiling. You're doing everything that proves you're okay. But somewhere deep inside, you know something has gone quiet. A part of you has gone offline. That's what emotional numbness feels like. Not sadness, but the disappearance of every other feeling. Psychologists describe it as an automatic shut-off switch. A defense system that activates when your inner world gets overwhelmed. When the emotional weight becomes too heavy, the mind does the same thing a machine does when it overheats. It powers down certain functions to protect the whole system, not to punish you, to prevent you from burning out completely. But the cruel twist is this: when the mind protects you from hurt, it often blocks joy with it. The walls built to keep out the storm also keep out the sunlight. Someone once told me, it's not that I don't want to feel, it's that I can't remember how. And that's the quiet tragedy of emotional numbness. It's not losing happiness, it's losing aliveness. If you've ever felt that, like you're more present than truly living, you are not broken. You're not weak. You're not failing. You're in self-preservation mode. The human brain is designed to protect you. It constantly scans your emotional world, trying to keep you safe. And when it senses too much, too intense, too long, too overwhelming, it turns the volume down on everything, not to destroy you, but to shield you. But here's the cost. When the emotional volume stays low for too long, the very things that make life meaningful, connection, excitement, empathy, love, start to fade into the background. There's a psychological concept called emotional blunting. It often shows up in people who have lived through chronic stress, heartbreak, or long periods of emotional responsibility. From the outside, these people look calm, collected, unshakable. But internally, they've simply learned that big emotions make them vulnerable. So they build walls around themselves. And if you live inside those walls for too long, you start mistaking numbness for peace. But numbness isn't peace. It's quiet pain. Pain that learned how to stay silent. It doesn't appear overnight. It sneaks in gradually. You stop getting excited about the things you used to love. You stop crying even when something hurts. Not because you're strong, but because the emotional facet has rusted from lack of use. You start saying things like, I don't care anymore, not out of apathy, but out of exhaustion. Underneath numbness, there's almost always a story. The person who held their family together for years until they forgot who they were. The man who was taught to be unbreakable and ended up carrying everything alone. The friend who listens to everyone but never speaks about their own heart. The child who grew up in chaos and learned early that emotions equaled danger. Over time, the body learns a painful lesson. If feeling hurts, then not feeling is safer, so it adapts. But adaptation is not healing, it's survival. And survival isn't the same as living. Most emotionally numb people didn't choose this state. They were guided into it by experience, by repeated disappointments, quiet heartbreaks, emotional responsibilities that no one noticed. They stopped feeling not because they're weak, but because caring became too heavy, and honestly, that's a kind of wisdom. A tired wisdom, but wisdom nonetheless. Because how many times can you open yourself only for something to break inside you? But here's where the science gives us hope. The brain is not fixed. It's flexible. It can relearn, rebuild, reopen. The same mind that learned to shut down can learn to turn back on again. Emotional numbness is not a life sentence. It's a pause, a signal, a protective shell waiting for your system to feel safe again. And when healing begins, it's subtle. It doesn't happen with fireworks. It happens quietly. You notice sunlight again. You feel a slight tug when a song plays. A soft flutter in your chest at a memory that doesn't hurt anymore. These are tiny sparks, but they matter, because they mean something inside you is thawing. But here's the truth. Numbness isn't the absence of emotion. It's the holding back of it, and everything you hold back eventually wants to return. Healing begins when you stop running from your inner world and start remembering. The version of yourself who felt deeply before life taught you to be cautious, because numbness isn't a character flaw. It's a scar, a silent reminder of the battles you fought alone. And if you peel back that numbness gently, without judgment, you'll find a sensitive heart underneath. A heart that once felt everything too deeply, in a world that kept telling it to feel less. The strange thing about emotional numbness is that it doesn't announce itself. It doesn't knock on your door and say, "I'm here." It arrives quietly in the pauses, in the spaces between moments, in the parts of you that used to feel alive, and the world rarely notices. People see you laughing, working, showing up, and they assume you're okay. They see functionality, not the quiet battle happening inside you. But emotional numbness isn't emptiness. It's emotional overflow. It's your system saying, "I've held too much for too long. I need a break." Many psychologists call it emotional avoidance, a state where the mind links feeling with danger, so it disconnects before emotions even surface. You become calm on the outside but restless on the inside. Your smile still works, but it feels like a gesture rather than a feeling. Your reactions become rehearsed. Your expressions become automatic. You participate in life, but you don't feel like you're part of it. And slowly, the performance becomes your identity. You start believing, maybe this is just who I am now. Maybe I'm not a feeling person anymore. But that's not true. This isn't your identity. It's your armor, and armor is meant to be worn temporarily, not forever. Because under that numbness, there's usually a history the world didn't see. A timeline filled with moments of overstimulation, overthinking, emotional responsibility, or heartbreak that never had the space to heal. For some people, numbness begins in childhood, in homes where emotions were dismissed, where crying was weakness, where talking about fear or sadness made things worse. For others, it begins in adulthood, after surviving repeated emotional hits, after giving too much for too long, after caring so deeply that it drained them. And the body learned a simple rule: when emotions create chaos, silence creates safety. So silence becomes your home. A home that doesn't hurt you, but doesn't nourish you either. And that's what makes numbness so complicated. It protects you, but it also starves you. It shields you, but it also isolates you. It gives you peace, but not freedom. There's another thing people don't understand. Emotional numbness is not the absence of feelings, it's the overwhelming presence of suppressed ones. Feelings don't disappear when ignored. They wait. They settle in the body like dust, layer after layer, until numbness becomes the only sensation you can tolerate. This is why people in numbing states often experience physical symptoms, fatigue, brain fog, tension, heavyness. The body is saying, I'm carrying emotions you're not ready to feel. But here's the hopeful part. Numbness is reversible, not by force, not by pressure, not by demanding yourself to feel again. It heals through safety, because numbness is, at its core, a lack of emotional safety. When your system finally believes it's safe, the emotions return on their own, naturally, gently, quietly. That's why practices like slow breathing, mindfulness, grounding, or simply sitting with yourself without distractions are powerful. They don't create emotions. They create safety, and emotions follow. The nervous system is a learning system. It adapts, it changes, it rebuilds. The mind that learned to shut down can learn to open again, but healing is not linear. There will be days when you feel something small, a spark, a tug, a flicker, and days when you go numb again without warning. Both are okay. Both are progress. Because the journey out of emotional numbness is not one big moment. It's a collection of micro moments. The first genuine laugh you feel inside your chest. The first time a song reaches you emotionally again. The first moment you allow yourself to say, I don't feel okay, and someone listens without judgment. These are the cracks in the armor, the places where light enters again. But numbness doesn't only show up as emptiness. Sometimes it appears as irritation, as detachment, as perfectionism, as overworking, as constantly scrolling your phone, as avoiding silence because silence makes you notice yourself again. And for some, numbness shows up as disappearing, pulling away from everyone, not because you don't care, but because explaining what you're feeling feels impossible when you don't even understand it yourself. All of these behaviors come from the same plea. I want to feel safe again. And that's where the healing truly begins. Not by trying to feel more, but by allowing yourself to feel less threatened by feeling. Healing emotional numbness isn't about forcing emotions back. It's about gently widening the window of what feels safe. Small acts matter. Sitting in sunlight for 2 minutes, taking a walk without your phone, letting yourself listen to a full song without skipping, talking to one safe person, breathing deeply once a day, letting your shoulders drop, letting yourself rest without guilt. Simple things, but they remind your nervous system, you are allowed to feel again. Nothing bad will happen. Awareness melts numbness. Gentleness melts numbness. Safety melts numbness. Not intensity, not pressure, not perfection. Because numbness isn't healed through strength. It's healed through softness at some point. You start noticing life again. The way the wind feels, the way colors return, the way a memory doesn't hurt as much as it once did. It's fragile, but it's real, and real is stronger than perfect. And here's the beautiful part. There comes a moment, quiet, small, unexpected, when you stop being a spectator in your own life and start becoming a participant again. When the world stops being something you endure and becomes something you belong to. Not because everything is better, but because you are learning to feel again, and that is the beginning of coming back to life. Healing from emotional numbness isn't about waking up one morning and suddenly feeling everything again. It doesn't happen like a movie scene. No dramatic breakthrough, no instant transformation. It happens slowly. It happens in fragments. It happens in small, nearly invisible moments. A thought that doesn't feel as heavy as before. A memory that stirs a faint warmth instead of pain. A genuine laugh that doesn't feel rehearsed. And sometimes it's simply this: I don't feel as empty today. That may not seem like a lot, but it's proof that something inside is thawing. There's a concept in psychology called re-engagement. It means gently stepping back into life after emotionally withdrawing from it. Not by force, not by pressure, but by allowing life back in, one piece at a time. Re-engagement can look like making real eye contact when someone talks to you, letting a song play instead of skipping it, feeling a small flutter of excitement even if you don't fully understand why, sitting with your emotions instead of immediately distracting yourself. These moments don't look big, but they are, because numbness doesn't disappear in big steps. It dissolves in micro moments of presence. Not dramatic, not perfect, just real. But here's something important. The goal is not to get rid of numbness. The goal is to understand it, to see it not as your enemy, but as a signal. Your mind wasn't trying to hurt you. It was protecting you the only way it knew how. By turning down the emotional volume when life got too loud. Emotional numbness is not a failure. It's a message. It says, I've carried too much for too long with too little support. And healing starts when you finally respond, I understand. You don't have to carry it alone anymore. So what does healing actually look like? Sometimes it's just learning to let emotions exist without trying to fix them. Some days you may feel lighter. Some days you may feel flat again. Both are okay, because feeling again isn't a straight road. It's up and down, forward and back, numb and then alive, and then numb again. But each time you come back to feeling, you stay a little longer. You feel a little safer, and bit by bit, life returns. Psychologists say that suppressed emotions don't vanish. They simply wait, stored as quiet energy in the body, until the body feels safe enough to release them. That's why healing requires safety, not speed. We weren't meant to feel everything all at once. We were meant to feel things at a human pace. That's why gentle practices help. Stillness, breathing, speaking kindly to yourself, letting someone genuinely care about you. These small acts tell the nervous system, I don't live in danger anymore. It's safe to feel again, and feelings return, not as a flood, but as a soft tide. But here's something beautiful. People who've experienced emotional numbness often become some of the most emotionally aware, gentle and empathetic individuals once they reconnect. Because numbness doesn't mean you lack feeling. It means you once felt too deeply. You were never cold. You were overwhelmed. You weren't heartless. You were protecting your heart. And that's not weakness. That's survival. But you're not in survival mode now. You're in healing mode. And healing isn't just about feeling again. It's about learning to feel without fear. To feel without drowning. To feel without apologizing. To feel and stay. One day, maybe soon, maybe slowly, you'll notice something different. You'll smile and feel it this time. You'll hear a song and it will actually move you. You'll see a sunset and instead of just seeing it, you'll feel present with it. It won't be dramatic. It won't be perfect, but it will be real. And real always beats perfect. Because you won't just be surviving, you'll be living, maybe. That's what returning to life really is. Not a grand transformation, but a gentle unfreezing. A quiet permission to feel again. A soft whisper from deep inside you. I'm still here. I've been waiting for you. So don't rush, don't force. Just allow. Keep breathing. Keep noticing. Keep living. Even quietly, even imperfectly. And one day, you'll notice that the silence inside you has been replaced by something softer. Something warmer. Something you thought you lost. But it was here all along. Life.